Hi, we're continuing the series on borderline personality disorder. These are videos based on my book. And the next topic we're looking at is benefit from the experience of others, but don't over-identify. People have too much pride to admit that sadness and loneliness deeply affect their behavior, emotion, and thinking. Pride and shame are deadly sins that prevent people from reaching out for help, even when it's absolutely needed. For borderlines, pride may even trump self-preservation. People tend to feel less alone when they meet others whose hardships are similar, making life more manageable. This is why group therapy for borderlines can be very helpful, as gaining feedback from group members can be quite therapeutic. People with BPD have a lot in common with each other given the particularity of their symptoms and dysfunction, so much so that BPD groups are sometimes a culture in itself. While there's a great deal of utter nonsense and even falsehood on the internet which needs to be weeded out and avoided, there is also a real benefit to its availability, as I've noted earlier. The internet offers concise autobiographical insights into people's lives, and many people have utilized YouTube, for example, to express personal struggles with total honesty. The result is that people with particular disorders or problems can understand and identify with others with similar issues in an immediate way and in a humanistic and honest manner. When I was a student, there were basically two ways to understand clinical issues. First, read about people in clinical vignettes. However, these were often snippets of a person's life, and often greater context was not provided. Second, learn about people in a clinical setting. However, this is limited by the particular client population or treatment modality. In contrast, autobiographical videos provide opportunities to consider mental health issues that even a clinician may not otherwise encounter or experience. For example, there are many developmental disorders and intellectual disabilities rooted in literally hundreds of genetic abnormalities, and many people with these issues have uploaded clinically informative videos. Furthermore, BPD has multiple presentations, and multiple autobiographical videos provide very different presentations of BPD, which is not obvious from the DSM-5 criteria. Many of the videos reflect how people have successfully contended with mental health issues while also enjoying life to the fullest and accomplishing personal goals. Some borderlines turn to the internet for both impulsive sexual exploration and also to avoid feelings of loneliness and emptiness, though often the two issues greatly overlap. Connecting with strangers on the internet is a risky endeavor, but it has allowed those who are isolated, particularly those who were isolated, by the way, during COVID-19, to connect with others, lessening loneliness, sometimes with positive results, as it helps borderlines to avoid over-identifying with his own problems. Yet there are also sometimes very negative results. Internet interpersonal connections can quickly become addictive, and the superficial connections may ultimately cause the borderline to experience an even more profound sense of isolation and loneliness. Moreover, social media requires the borderline to compare himself to others based on anonymous judgment, which can be unnerving and damaging. Somewhat paradoxically, the vastness of social media may limit the borderline's creativity and curiosity by steering him to perceived norms, though the borderline must constantly consider new strategies to overcome his challenges. Still, for some borderlines, the internet is a life-saving tool that can afford connections, allowing for feedback and the exchange of ideas about treatment options. I wrote my book with the male pronoun for reasons that I noted in the introduction. However, this book would be amiss without noting that women with BPD must be aware that male predators take advantage of the borderline's impulsive nature and fragile sense of self. This can be particularly a problem when the borderline impulsively seeks solace in the form of sexual intimacy, or when sex satisfies the borderline's need for praise, emotional support, or even just platonic chit-chat. Borderlines and their partners may use one another in harmful ways, leading to various kinds of personal harm and maybe even a profound sense of loneliness from repeated empty experiences. Unhealthy impulsivity by its nature tends to negate or mute safety considerations, perhaps because impulsive people do not have the capacity or willingness to make the same safety calculation as non-impulsive people.